Welcome back, Pat, to the show. Episode 2. Not had anybody do 2 episodes. Very keen.
I'm glad to be back. Thank you for having me.
It is. The Edinburgh Fringe is over, and we're going to have a chat. So, welcome, Patricia Dzigbordi Akoli.
Thank you.
I am so delighted to have you back on my show, Pat. And today, episode 6, Digital and Beyond Edinburgh Fringe. Because it is over and the world goes on. And as producers, we do carry on. So tell me, Pat, you've not been to the Fringe this year. It's not really been part of your programming in your schedule for this year. So what have you been doing over August? What does your culture and creative world look like?
Yeah, so August actually saw me start 2 new positions. One was the return of the annual Tottenham Literature Festival at the Bernie Grant Arts Centre. So that's returning to join the small but powerful team to put on a programme which will happen the 14th to the 20th of November, guys. If you're in North London, if you're in East London, South London, who have I missed out? West London, everybody come down.
We will do I will invite you back and we will do one specifically about the festival.
Oh, wow.
I think we should definitely do that. We should definitely do that. I did last week. I was at Wells Contemporary at Wells Cathedral in Somerset.
Lovely.
And with Dee Dee, and we did sort of a slideshow about her artwork and the exhibition, and we should definitely do one about the festival.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that'll be really cool. I think the team would.
So tell me about this literature festival that's taking you to what would be for people beyond the Edinburgh Fringe. So this is November time. This is going to happen.
So it will involve a mix of panels and talks. There will be sharings of plays. I'm trying not to give away the game. Well, we're spoilers. So and we've also got a really lovely family program that we've put together this year, which I think that's okay to say, and some exciting partnerships that we've developed, and hopefully we'll stay with the Lit Fest as it develops and expands. But without giving too much away, I'm very excited. I'm excited.
I think episode 2 of this series had Joe Strickland from Chronic Insanity, who kind of outlined why people would go to the Edinburgh Fringe, and one of those why you would take a show to the Edinburgh Fringe would be to showcase 2 programmers. And I say that is a role that producers look to fulfill. So I know you're not programming the festival, but you're assisting. So how does the programming work for the literature festival? Where have you found the people? Is there anyone from Edinburgh, and how would you go about locating some of those, and how are you assisting?
Well, some I don't have all the answers in that sense, but programming for anything usually happens well in advance of the thing happening, a year or more. And I think a lot of things start in the same way. People have been keeping an eye on people, work that has been in development, work that is coming out, authors and writers that people have been particularly interested in. Sometimes it centers around a theme that you then intuitively go for people that you've admired or done good work in that. So Literature Festival is a little bit different in that you're also working with publishers and agents, and sometimes it's about the launching of a book, or sometimes it's about readings that you want to do, or having conversation that breaks apart the themes within books or inspiration. So it's a bit of a different feel than live.
Yeah, there's an extension, isn't there? Because
Yeah.
there's a spoken word component and
Yes.
literature part of the Edinburgh Fringe. Again, talking to Fee Wolf about how you go about just finding stuff at the festival, we were looking at spoken word, and all of the things that come around the Edinburgh Festival is just absolutely massive. And one of the things that I wanted to just have a talk about today, beyond the Fringe, so you've got November, but also reflecting on digital. There wasn't enough time for me to get a weekly show in to cover all the things that I wanted to cover, but digital attendance is something that's really important to me, but also digital consciousness of the time that it takes. And so stuff that was going on the Fringe. So if people are checking back into here to sort of go, oh, is this Edinburgh Fringe? It is about Edinburgh Fringe. It's about talking about around Edinburgh Fringe as well. But one thing that I just wanted to kind of look at in terms of the digital before we move on to talking about digital attendance and how we attend or actually don't attend, I think that's as much a good conversation, is just the Fringe. One thing I really liked this year was I was able to look at whether there was an online show, and I don't know how many other festivals do this. I'd be interested to know if you've got a digital component, but I think looking at how Edinburgh have done this, good or bad, and looking at how other festivals from now onwards are addressing this coming out of COVID and that beyond the pandemic, beyond the Fringe, beyond pandemic, I'm really interested to see what holds and what doesn't, because I think the Fringe went back to a lot of physical stuff this year, and digital was kind of that sideline thing that was more than it was in 2019, I think. But yeah, so just one column dedicated to the fact that there was anything digital. But I did get to search out what plays were in the Fringe that were digital. So I wasn't sure when the festival finished whether it would still be available to see. I don't know how long the Edinburgh Fringe digital bits actually stay there. So in preparation for chatting to you about what I'd found, and also for the future, I did notice that they had a saving function. So I have managed to save as a PDF all of the online shows that were listed, which I quite like, because I'd like to see if I can see some of these after the Fringe. I think that's...
And for people keep their pamphlets, people keep their programs. If there's nothing to be kept for the online performances, if a tree falls in the forest, all that business, you want to be able to keep something and refer to something and have it featured. Were any of these in the brochure, or were they just...
Yes. So these are all... So in the Fringe program, it doesn't list them separately.
Okay.
If you do a search on the website, and when you so you could have the option to determine how you want to watch. And two of those options were online on demand and online scheduled. So this is 50 shows which are in the category of theatre and were available online during the Edinburgh Fringe.
Okay.
As plays.
Lost you.
So yeah.
Order.
And I was able to use the Edinburgh Fringe site to be able to bookmark some of those things. I think that's the nice thing about digital now, not just the paper, is that you can bookmark them. I'm going to be interested to see how long this site stays live and whether I lose all of this. But the digital shows, which I really like the look of and I want to try and catch up on, there's this YouTube Fringe. And I know as a sci-fi fan yourself, this was one that I picked up on. They actually have a category of sci-fi and performance art, which I quite liked the fact of. And this one, it was online on demand, so it didn't have a scheduled showing time. So it's basically picking a YouTube video, I guess. And this one, so Stephanie Valos gives a performance that blurs author with character, thought with creation, fear with love, and she embodies the character John K. Mercury, an accidental astronaut who wants off the planet and believes hitching a ride on a mission to Mars is the only way. So, which just, I thought I would like to see that. And I was thinking, well, how do we go about this? So they do have a booking. And as it's not there anymore, I presume that now it's finished.
Oh, it's come down.
They've come down. Let me just refresh the page to see if it will.
Yeah.
So,
I wonder if it's something we can access direct on YouTube. Because from what I do,
so as I say, I think this is the thing with the Fringe. You if you miss out on it, can you go back and get some stuff? And it, you know, some shows are available from their own site. So the Chronic Insanity online stuff, you can go to the Chronic Insanity website and they've got an archive of loads of their stuff. So what I might be doing is looking up that show and see if I can access it.
Because from what I can remember of the short video projects they did with Lyft and some of the young people, that it takes quite a lot to host videos on sites as well.
Yeah,
so I wonder how many were actually hosted on. It's probably not that many were hosted on the Fringe site itself. If they were hosted somewhere else,
it'd be interesting to know how it was curated, isn't it? I might have to do a follow-up of digital. As always with Edinburgh, the Comedy Fringe is much better supported, and I found this on YouTube when I looked for Edinburgh Fringe. So it looks like there was quite a substantial 50+ exclusive live streams from the Comedy Fringe. So if you're a comedy fan, live stuff was going to be available. And interestingly, they have a pass that lasts a year.
That is interesting.
So I like that model, that you buy your digital shows at the Fringe. Why are the others not available? So I'm going to want to have a bit of a look around that.
That's a wondering of. I feel like it might be. Just feeling like it might be a longer way for those comedians to reach a larger audiences. Maybe it was something that, you know, in conversation with agents or something for a longer time, because and then if it's a one-time pass, because as we know, when we found out, it's that thing about if you have a show and it's filmed and you have it on a platform, it's the one-off. I don't know where I'm going with this. Something about credits and money and getting paid from that digital work. But that's
there's a revenue component, isn't it? That once you make something, if you put it on YouTube and anyone can access it, you're not getting anything back. And as creatives and performers and producers, we have to work out where our next meal's coming from.
Absolutely.
So that having that pass component really useful. Now, moving, I think beyond the Fringe, you've got your physical literature festival that may or may not have some digital components in November.
Yeah.
In terms of the world of digital now, that digital plays, I mean, there's been NT Live, National Theatre Live, doing their shows on TV, or you could watch at the beginning of COVID. And I don't know about you, although I work in the industry, I find sitting down in front of my computer to watch a whole performance actually quite intensive.
Yeah. No, I agree, especially if it was not, well, you can tell when something is sort of recorded for the archive, can't you? Versus created or adapted specifically for digital. It's a different feel and a different intention, because it takes another piece of creativity to think about the 2D behind the 3D, and bringing things out.
I think one of the things with digital theatre pieces, if I just watch a file, I'm very aware that yes, it's a play. It was once live. It might be live now that I'm watching, but if I don't have a connection with the audience, it somehow feels fake. But the experience isn't the same. So, how important do you think audience is to the experience of a piece of live performance?
That's an interesting question. I think, funnily enough, the only digital performances I feel that I've watched have been opera. Those ones, they were quite engaging. I'm not even sure. Not to say I'm a regular opera buff, but yeah, they were quite engaging. And I think any of the others I've caught, that happen to be things that I've seen in person. So for me, it was easy to put myself back into the audience in a sense, in that way. So I don't know the answer to that one.
Yeah, well, no, I think, as I say, I think you made some good points. I think, yeah, I'm just, as a digital practitioner that hasn't attended as much digital work as I should have done, I do find accessing it quite difficult. And I find that quite ironic that as someone who really champions digital performance, and I want it to happen, and I want access to it for people who can't either travel geographically, or they can't travel because of personal accessibility capacity, or because they don't have the time component because they can't get back from work on time. I don't find that I've had a compelling. I haven't had a compulsion to watch loads of live theatre, and it kind of passes me by, and I feel bad about it.
I wonder, so in the reverse, when you're making the offer and inviting people and trying to, what about the reverse of that would be applicable to you? If that makes sense.
Yeah, when I've hosted the live audience bit, it's always been, maybe because I know that my reluctance to engage digitally when there is no consciousness of an audience. When I host or can do Zoom controlling, I'm always very conscious of what the audience experience is, and if they want to engage, and I like to make sure there's an avenue for them to do that. And I think a lot of digital work that I try and experience never satisfies my need and want to be engaged in some way. But I don't know if it's just that's just me being very selfish.
I don't think that's you being selfish. I think that's an honest want from you.
Yeah.
But I think that's the question with digital work that is not, I guess, interactive, though that is a very basic term.
I think I have discovered that there are different genres of digital work. So the digital experience of watching a play, which has you watching something at a time of your choosing. People might watch it simultaneously, but you've no way of really talking to anybody, or you get your Zoom chat. But some of the other pieces that I have participated in, which are digital pieces that have been uploaded, and then you choose to engage with them at a time of your choosing.
Yeah.
Some of them have done some very interesting setups where you have to configure your screens beforehand. So they ask you to put
what way? Sorry.
There was one that I took part in. As I say took part in, but it was a passive experience in terms of there was no one else there, where you place a screen. As I say, I had to have both two iPads. I had to drag two iPads out. I had a laptop and I had this device that I'm doing this on. And it split the performers across the screens. So you actually sat in the middle of a performance. And when the person behind, they were talking to, so there was someone on screen. And then when they talked to the person that is looking at me, there was a screen behind me that I had to turn around and look at. So I find those kind of innovations with digital really, really engaging.
Yeah.
Another one that I attended, which maybe isn't seen as theatre, which was a performance piece telling a story about the built-in obsolescence of light bulbs,
obsolescence meaning
of light bulbs.
Yeah,
that light up, and and it's a true story.
Obsolescence, just the luminous quality of them. What does obsolescence?
Well, no, the first electric light bulb that was created, is still burning, and it's been burning for over nearly 100 years.
It's alive.
But there was a group at the time that said,
"Wait, where is it? Sorry."
It's in America somewhere. As I say, what's the name? I'll have to put in the show notes. I will put the show in the show notes afterwards. But it's called the what are they called? I'm going to have to find it now, aren't I? But they were a group of light bulb manufacturers, and they all got together and said, "Well, this is no good. We're never going to sell any more light bulbs." So they actually put a rule in place, and this was like 80, 90 years ago now, that light bulbs must only last for so many thousand hours.
Humans suck so much,
and it is
so much with the world,
and it is an actual. I'm gonna have to find it now. Let me get my browser. What was it? Light bulb obsolescence. Dyslexic trying to spell obsolescence.
Oh God! Obsolescence.
The Phoebus cartel. So it's the Phoebus cartel was an Ollie. It's on the screen. I'm going to actually put it on screen so that you can see it. The Phoebus cartel controlled the manufacture and sale of incandescent light bulbs. They appropriated market territories and lowered the useful life of such bulbs. 1925. And that history of light bulbs not working more than 2,500 hours was actually a thing there's no reason why light bulbs last the time that they do. But anyway,
I'm sure there's reasons why, all sorts of power are limited, because these people have got to, sharing. Look, I'm going to go into a rant.
Yeah,
anyway,
the story, this piece of theatre, which I mean, as a YouTube conspiracy video watcher, I had seen a video. I had seen a video about the Phoebus cartel. I think it was done by Vsauce. It might have been Simon Whistler. I can't remember who did the video. They've probably both done one. So I knew of the cartel, but this theatre piece was the story of the Phoebus cartel. And the audience that were in the space, there was about 20 of them. They were being told about this cartel and that the cartel were watching. And we, the digital audience, were the cartel. We were told that before the audience came in, we were actually told who we were.
Okay.
And so there was about 10 of us in the digital audience. And so they were told about this story, and the theatre performers actually had light bulbs lit with, they had angle poises in the space, and they had a bike powering, so they were pedaling and it was lighting the light bulbs up, and they had to keep the light bulbs lit, and there was 5 of these light bulbs, and the whole thing was basically a live performance of battleships, that each of these light bulbs, each of these angle poise light bulbs was like on a grid, and the Phoebus cartel was trying to bring down the lighting before they could finish their performance. So at certain times we were actually asked to give grid references of what we were targeting, and if we managed to get one of their lights, it would turn the light out. So by the end of this sort of 30-minute performance,
strange torture,
if we managed to get all of their lights, they would finish the show in blackout. And so in terms of that as digital theatre, I think is a really special thing that is being developed and evolved. But how you manage to find that, is another matter.
Very true. I know that definitely wouldn't come up randomly for me.
I know, and so the Edinburgh Fringe is the location where independent theatre begins for me. And there are lots of festivals around the country, and there's a lot of fringe, and the London Fringe in itself is running all the time, and that in itself is an industry in itself. But I think the Edinburgh Fringe really illustrates where art and culture and performance has reached, and I think it's really sad that there wasn't as much embracing of digital coming out of COVID. I think there's a lot of championing to be done for digital.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Lift managed to have quite a nice little digital program as well that was tied in, and some interesting topics, climate justice and things like that. So, and I think really there's no. I think just all of the things it brought up in terms of who work can access, and it's just access, basic access. Like that disappointment is something that is very real for me. For people who leave digital.
So I think there's work being shown that's digital, which is an art form in itself that exists. There's digital work that exists as to extend an audience's accessibility opportunity, and then just sort of innovation of the medium itself. Well, thank you so much, Pat, for joining me on this second episode. We're going to make it a third episode, and that will be way beyond the Fringe, and we will look at what's happening in November. That. So, thank you so much. And I'm just going to, as with ever, if you are watching this on YouTube, or you catch this on Facebook, or if you're watching this on Twitch, do follow along, do become part of the audience, because one of the things that I find, and I suppose it'll be similar for you, Pat, because we spend a lot of time working on building other people's audiences, the audience that we often don't build and grow is our own. So, if you see work of Pat's, do find Pat on social media, Patricia Dzigbordi Akoli, or Pat Akoli, do put her name in social media.
Put my name in social media. I am still on a social media hiatus while I focus on my creative.
But I think having the presence there. If someone found you on LinkedIn, they would be able to message you, or they would be able to reach out and find you if they wanted to tell you how awesome you are on this. You can even put in the comments. You can comment if you want to leave a message, Pat. Please do. If you want to leave a message for me. But with that, as we come up to the top of the 30 minutes, thank everybody for watching. Do check out the other episodes, and do continue to watch any PCM projects, stuff that you see come up on your radar. And with that, Pat, I will bring this to a close.